saying that they like my style. Wanna know how I do it? I smile. While you were out there saying hey, hi, hello, I was getting dressed up in shades of yellow.
Good morning, Emma.
Hello, good morning from the continent.
Yes, hello from Barcelona.
Yes, in my palatial suite.
And there's an hour time difference, so you were raring to go this morning while I was still on the schoolroom.
Yeah, I think raring is not quite not quite the word I'd use for it, but yes, I'm here. I was really keen to make sure the Wi-Fi worked. I know it's been working really well for me to load things to Dropbox, so I was assuming it was going to work for this, so that's good.
And it's better than your Wi-Fi at home.
Yeah. Anyway, we should introduce ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. I'm Leah Spicer-Pownall. I'm the marketing manager of Miss Bush, and this is.
I'm Emma Marshall, and I'm the MD of Miss Bush, and this is our podcast.
The Lovely Job podcast.
Yes, and actually, to be fair, as I'm talking to you from Barcelona, it does seem quite a lovely job, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe last week it didn't feel quite so lovely for you, as you had a few unhappy messages. We ruffled a few feathers last week on the podcast, didn't we?
We did. Completely unintentionally, and of course, I guess because our podcast is not scripted, and I'd had a question about buying sample dresses and things like that. I just kind of went from what I knew intuitively and actually didn't really think to run it past anybody I was talking about. So I feel that's a bit of a learning curve.
I'm going to read out what you said, and then I'm going to let you respond and maybe correct a little bit. So we were talking about sample dresses, and you said there's a chain of sample shops called Reloved. It's a franchise system, and those Reloved shops buy pieces of the designers, and you said they're a bit TK Maxx. They'll buy pieces from shops with discounted brands, designers, labels. They're a bit TK Maxx because basically you've got to have a bit of a rummage. There's going to be some fillers on the shelf. You'll get a bargain, but you probably won't get premium brands discounted. That's what upset some people, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And this is like my bad, really. I didn't really do my research as well because it was interesting. Once somebody from one of the franchises reached out to me and was quite affronted, and quite rightly so, because I probably didn't do enough research about talking about somebody else's business. And I am very, very pro female-fronted independent retail businesses. It's been my life. So, I didn't want to casually dismiss anyone. And the really, really amazing thing about this, though, was firstly, I thought it was brilliant that people were listening. I don't want to be controversial, but I am quite opinionated. So I think sometimes that's going to happen. But, I totally agree that I didn't do enough research. But the really amazing thing is the Kate, who is the founder of the Bridal Reloved franchise chain, sent me an email saying, "Can we speak?" And I was like, uh-oh. So it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get told off. I'm so going to get told off. So I had I was like, right, I'm just going to write some notes about what I said, get my kind of ducks in a row and try and think about, apologizing and actually, she did. We ended up talking for about an hour plus on the phone. And oh my God, she's so fascinating and inspiring. So actually, out of this controversy came a really, really interesting exchange of ideas and thoughts about bridal retail in the UK just generally. But basically, she clarified for me that the franchisees are able to buy from all sorts of different brands. Some very premium, well-known brands like Sassy Helford and Bowden Dryden are quite happy to advertise that they sell their X sample stock through the Reloved franchise because they see it as part of a more of an ethical, sustainable route to kind of dealing with surplus stock. and ex-sample stock. So they're very happy to like put, their policies front and center of what they do. However, there are other premium brands that you can buy from these bridal reloved franchises that don't really want their name associated with it. And I sort of get that in one way, because they would probably be looking like they might be devaluing their brand to their existing stockists. Or maybe they're just not brave enough. I don't know what their reasons are. But so, yeah, I did say to Kate that I would absolutely kind of correct that. And but she did say that the sort of TK Maxx model was the model. So I mean, TK Maxx is not, it's a formidable company and it does very well. So I know that you're a fan. I know my sister's a fan.
I love TK Maxx. I've got some of my favorite pieces of clothing from TK Maxx.
So yeah, but and also there is and also to like further do some research on the chain, I did have a look at everyone's different Instagram accounts, as many as I could find, and I still found the choice different from what we do, and that's probably based on regional variations of taste, and also regional budget like allocations and things like that. So it is different from what we do, and I would say that whilst premium can be the brand, sometimes I also think of what we do, the premium aspect, perhaps what I was referring to is the fact that you're commissioning something to be made to order with whatever changes and modifications, like design things that you want. So, but I have to say it did spark, I'm really pleased for once that someone also, like, if they don't like what I said, to come back and tell me. Absolutely. I love the fact that, like independent business owners, women particularly, are bold enough to come back and be like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Your facts are not right. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Let me correct that, because I wouldn't want anyone to be caught in a kind of like, crossfire of my sort of, just casual throwaway comment, which really wasn't well informed. But anyway, the subsequent conversations with Kate, who again is, really, we discussed everything from the sort of like the environmental impact of bridal retail to the challenges of being working mothers, about the burden that like our industry faces from that point of view. The challenges of early years parenting, all sorts of things that actually I wouldn't have had that conversation without. And I'm really hoping, we obviously need to sit down and discuss this in a bit more depth, but I'd really love to have a sort of round table with her and see if anybody else was interested in discussing the kind of like this, the true environmental impact of what we do, how we really can tackle the inventory issue that we've got in bridal, and actually make the industry a bit more accountable for the excess of stock that it has. And also for each piece of excess stock, isn't just an environmental cost, but there is a physical human cost for someone that's invested maybe unwisely in something. So I think that's a teachable moment as well. So generally, didn't want to upset anyone, don't mind a bit of controversy, love to get some feedback, and so that was, I think, generally speaking, I hope the people that fed back into Kate feel satisfied that like I wouldn't ever try and do something deliberately to take down another business or another business model.
Okay. Brilliant. And someone did say that, as women in tough businesses, we should be supporting each other. And that is just you 100%. Like, that's what you're all about, is supporting other women. Yeah. And, so it's good that they reached out, because it was a chance for you to correct that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather do that than like have somebody just like feel unable to reach out, or like feel, that I wasn't going to apologize or wasn't going to listen to that point of view. But on the other hand, I kind of like, there isn't another platform in our industry for the trade to discuss anything publicly that isn't incredibly biased. So, the only other platforms tend to be things that are very much invested in selling more dresses into the marketplace. So, there isn't another channel really, unless people are doing their own channels, and then quite a lot of the space taken up, and rightly so, and Reels and TikTok are entertaining. They're not issues based. So, it is, I think it's it's kind of interesting. Take us 11 weeks to actually create a bit of a stir.
Well, that we know of.
Yeah,
maybe,
I know, right?
Maybe there's been others.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think I've mentioned any other, probably other companies by name. So that's probably, I should allude more in the future rather than be so direct. But,
Okay, lovely. Okay, so at the end of the episode last week, we promised to answer 2 questions that we'd been asked because we completely ran out of time. So we're going to move on to those now. So the first one was, what are the trends for 2025 brides, and can you advise whether to incorporate the trends or stay timeless?
Right. Okay. So I'll tackle both of these things differently to each other. I mean, there's some very obvious trends. I mean, having just been to the Jesus Pero preview collection, which in theory is supposed to be the 2026 collection, but in reality will take delivery of some of those things early in the new year. You can see some definite trends there that have grown onto that, existing good selling styles. So you can see evolutions of things. And I think that's really what happens with bridal, more than there being like, oh, that's so 2025, this is what we're doing now in 2026. You will get slow evolutions in things. And I think it comes from people seeing a lot of something. So you might have seen a lot of bows or a lot of puff sleeves or a lot of heart-shaped sunglasses or a lot of frills or something, and then you will tend then to just naturally think, if you've been to a wedding where you've seen several of your friends or several weddings where you've seen those things being used, you might either choose to have them or you might think, actually, I'd like to be a bit different. And I think that really the classic marketing cycle would have it's like a sort of tabletop mountain, so you sort of steep uptick. So this is where your early adopters get on with a new style or trend. The flat bit of the mountain there is when it's a sort of a broadly accepted trend, and then there will be the downtick where that trend kind of ebbs away. I mean, we've seen that very clearly in the last couple of seasons with, say, puff sleeves. So now, to start with, when we first put them in, a few brave souls wore them despite their mums going, oh my God, it's so 80s, you can't wear a puff sleeve. So, basically, so there went, 3 or 4 years ago, our early adopters in the puff sleeves. I think, generally speaking, now I don't think, what I'm finding is these things just don't just disappear now. They stay in the pantheon of options that you could possibly have. So I think it will be a very long time before we see people's kind of fondness for sleeves disappear, because I mean, we're circling back to that podcast we did about how much people are insecure about their arms.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they need to be or not is another matter, but that people love a sleeve. So I think you've got that product cycle in bridal, but because brides, maybe only spend sort of anywhere between 6 months to 12 months within our industry, they're not going to see those product cycles. You're going to parachute into our world for a little bit, buy your dress, and then parachute out again. You don't really parachute out, can you? Anyway, jetpack out of our world. So you're not really going to know, unless you're in a group of friends getting married, you're not going to see where you are on that trend cycle. So I would say whether you should get onto a trend or not, I would say very much how you shop normally. I mean, I've never seen, a bandwagon passing that I haven't immediately jumped on. So I would be definitely someone that wouldn't necessarily be a classicist, but I have my own sense of personal style. As we also know from my slating on YouTube, that personal style is not universally appealing, but I have a sense of it. Do you know what I mean? It's what I like. It's what makes me feel comfortable. So I think that really what I would say would be the most important thing for choosing a wedding dress is to be the most elevated version of your personal style, not to try and change into somebody else for it. So I think that is so classicism. Again, we get to that whole sort of thing with classicism, which is there are going to be things, rightly or wrongly, that suit a female form that will help that female form meet today's current expectations of a beauty standard. That we can unpack that till the cows come home on the Rest is Sociology podcast or the Rest is Feminism podcast, but it's like, so I think there are classic proportions that people can wear that will flatter their body. So I think those, and that you should learn over time within your sort of normal things that you love to do, love to wear. And then basically what I'm always trying to do is elevate that and bring a kind of bit of star quality to that for a wedding day. Mm-hmm. So, and if that means, like how we've had the return of the puff sleeve and we've had the return of the drop waist corset. I mean, that's obviously quite a big trend that you should see coming through for 2025 and going on into 26, which is the drop waist and basque waist dresses. Are we ready for the return of the bolero? I literally I'm not allowed to show pictures of anything, but I just saw a bolero jacket at Hazy's Pair. I was like, oh my God, I love that. And I'm like, my God, the reviled bolero could be back on its way back in. It's only one short step to the sparkly belt, let me tell you. So yeah, there's a thing. But actually, there's a few more trends. That I will discuss at more depth about the Jesus Perret stuff. But yeah, I would say your elevated version of your own style will keep you feeling very classic, very relatable, something you feel very comfortable with. But I wouldn't dismiss trends because you also want to be a girl of your year. And if you try really hard to be so classic that you'll never date, there's every chance you could end up. It could be quite boring. So I think it's fine to be a girl of your year and of your season. Yeah. And if we didn't have trends, there'd be no vintage.
I think that's the fun of it, looking back at wedding photos from like years ago and seeing what they wore. Like if it was just, what you'd wear now, you'd just be like, oh, that's a bit boring. You have to be like, wow, look what they were wearing.
I honestly really think now we're in such a kind of postmodern space as far as bridal style goes that if you authentically believe in what you're wearing, you could probably wear anything. Do you know what I mean? If you authentically love say a 1940s dress, or you wanted a 50s one, but not that naff 50s thing that was around a few years ago, but genuinely beautiful 50s couture, or you wanted to look like a 70s hippie or a punk or whatever, you can do it. It's all out there for you. Or if you want to be super traditional and what I would call a very British Anglican church tradition, you can do that too in a beautifully elevated way. So I think it's just trying to not be too overwhelmed by trends, but to think about yourself. And famously, we don't do super sexy dresses because it's not something that people come to us for. So there's no need for you to turn yourself into a super sexy diva in full bodycon if that's not your normal style. So you can do what you like. But it's helping someone to define that maybe a fairly early part of their life, like in their 20s, when they don't know what that looks like, as opposed to in their 50s when you're quite sure what that is.
Yeah, but it does change constantly, doesn't it? I used to be very into wearing vintage dresses when I was younger, but now I'm not a pretty dress girl at all anymore. It changes constantly. So you also have to think about that. You might not like the same things in a few years, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think as long as you don't get persuaded into some radical departure from what you would normally wear, or a radical departure of hair or makeup or something, then I think it's I think you've got to allow the ebb and flow. And also, that's the famous sort of Caitlin Moran quote that I use so much that she should probably have some copyright on it, which is, future you will be perving on the photos of you today. So there will be a point after you get married that maybe 5 years afterwards you think, my other friend's just got married and she's wearing this cool thing, which, I wish I'd worn. But then in 25 years, you'll be like, oh, look at me. I was so kind of young and fresh faced and look what I wore. And it's, you have a very different kind of view of yourself in the rear view mirror, which would be quite good if people could have that in the
front. I think that needs to be stuck at the bottom of every mirror when you're getting dressed.
Future you, is perving on you today. So look forwards. Yeah.
Amazing. So what are the trends then?
Well, I mean, the thing is that the trends, obviously, that came through strongly from like New York and Barcelona were the dropped waists. So the basque waist corsets, which effectively is a like pointy waist corset, which depending on how it's cut and who's making it, it can either look theatrical, it can look quite boudoir, it can look very elegant, and it should have the effect of wearing high cut swimwear without the bikini wax. So you should be able to make your legs look longer and your waist look smaller, which again is not a very lofty aspiration. It's quite cool. Obviously, we've got it through all of our collections. We've got it in Nautier, with the Schiffer dress and the Clementine and the Casper dresses. We've got it in Suzanne Neville with Foxglove and with Fittonia. We've got it in Divine Atelier with the Lola corsets. And we have got it in Jesus Perot with some drop waist skirts and a long blunt waisted like corset dress as well. So it's already there, and it is being picked up by the early adopters, as you might imagine. That's how it goes. So and people are. You have to be confident enough to actually wear it without having seen it on a lot of people on Instagram. It has been on some people, and it's definitely been on catwalks. It's not going to be for everybody. And also the other thing that we've had, which again, I wasn't sure that I would see a return of, is a lace up back. I felt like they became, oh my God, I can't even mention brands or names now, a little bit. Oh no, I feel like I've got to edit myself. When I used to sell Maggie Sotero dresses donkeys years ago, 25 years ago, they had these big ribbony lace up back dresses, and they were quite revolutionary when they happened. They were literally probably the first real kind of amazingly well-made Chinese dresses and it became quite market disruptorish. They kind of sadly dropped off a little bit because, firstly, ethically, they were kind of like trying to split their label into three to try and treble the amount of stock investment you'd put in. They also discontinued things. They also had problems with their production. It became very long and hard to get hold of things. And then they went storming down the line of copying that kind of Israeli glamour Berta model. So hence why we stopped doing them. And then I think I had a moment of epiphany where I decided I only wanted to stock truly sort of ethical brands. So, but that big broad lace up thing then got like put on every cheap and cheerful wedding dress you could possibly imagine till I couldn't bear the sight of it anymore. But now it's back with really cool eyelets, and it's quite theatrical and it's quite Gautier looking. So go me, I like it again now. So yeah, that's the thing. As far as silhouettes go, I would think as long as I've done bridal, which is 30 years, we've done slim dresses, we've done big dresses, and we've done in between dresses. We've done some that float and some that are stiff. I honestly just think that's personal preference as to where there is never going to be a silhouette itself that is entirely in or entirely out. And just as a personal preference, even when we do slim dresses, I don't like the kind of very RuPaul kind of fishtails, just because I think they look too showgirl for my brides. But, they've been in bridal as long as I have. So they're still an option if you want that kind of thing. So, but yeah, so trends.
Strapless dresses?
Strapless is definitely... The strapless made a comeback after years in the wilderness as well, because for a while it was the only option. Strapless, again, adding to the really ruler straight strapless, we've now got the arced high up strapless as well, which we have seen in the Divine collection, and also sneakily may well be in the Jesus Perot collection for 2026, just saying. So, and again, like just a combination of fabrics. I think the slipper satins are still going to continue to be really, really popular. I think lace has a place in collections. I actually love the fluorescence dress from Suzanne Neville. And I've just also seen an all lace dress in the Jesus Perot new collection that I really like as well. So, I think there's always, broadly speaking, I'm like, well, still minimalism is still the thing. But, that's just for us. Similarly, I do see like quite a lot of Ukrainian and Israeli labels that are still fully embellished, very decorative. So I can't. In fact, I was looking at a collection just now, and I looked at it and thought, well, it all looks very nice, but I don't understand it. I couldn't know where to start. I couldn't buy them for my store because I'd probably get it wrong. So yeah, but yeah, I think that's like there's some, but I think that the idea that you can just have what you like pretty much, I think is very liberating.
Okay, amazing, very exciting. Okay, now it's time for some tea. You're going to tell us about your best and worst appointments.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the worst one first. And anybody that knows me has already heard this. I don't know if I should name names. I'm going to name names on this because it's not a secret. So I did an appointment with this, and this is a long time ago because it was in our old shop. So we are talking, this is more than 10 years ago, could be 12 years ago. So I did an appointment for someone, didn't see anything like unusual in her quiz or anything like that. I don't think we did quizzes then.
No, we didn't do
request,
quizzes then.
We just had a person's name. Person comes in. Person brings her brother to the appointment. This girl's brother was Nicholas Holt.
Oh,
I was a bit like, okay, that's the About a Boy. Do you know what I mean? That's the Skins boy. That is the person that's dating Jennifer Lawrence. So rather than me just like fronting this up and going, oh my God, literally get out of here, I sort of pretended I didn't know him and then proceeded to do an appointment where I sounded like someone that couldn't string a sentence together, the most inarticulate, grunting, ridiculous appointment that I've ever done in my entire life. And then at some point I asked the girl what she did. She was like, oh, I'm an actor. And I was like, oh, are you? Yeah. And let's say my brother was like, oh, I thought he looked familiar. When all the time I was behaving like an absolute, in your head when you're just like, it's like a runaway train of stupidity and nothing you can do can bring it back. I might as well have had half a bottle of Jack Daniels or something for as coherent as I was. It was literally the most embarrassing. When you just afterwards when they left, it was like, no, I'm not surprised I never heard from you again. You didn't buy a dress for me because that was just. If you're that famous as well, you must also know when someone knows who you are, then they must start behaving like a bellend. I mean, literally, it's like I should have just said, oh my God, you're too famous. I don't think I'm going to do this appointment very well. Can we just like address the elephant in the room here? I'll try my best, but this is quite distracting. Just anything. I don't know. I'd really like a famous person to like tell me how that works. Do you know what I mean?
Would you rather they say, hello, I know who you are, or just pretend that you don't know?
Yeah. I've heard somewhere that like if you meet Elton John, he like goes to shake your hands and goes, hello, I'm Elton, and you're like, of course you are. Do you know what I mean? I literally don't know. So I would like to sort of probably know from a famous person what the famous person protocol would be. And if you're a famous person, can you spot when someone's like behaving like a major bellend, trying to kid that they don't know who you are, when they're actually literally having like absolute kind of like fangirl like spasms of.
I met Dave Berry once, and I didn't know who he was. I was at the fashion show. I can't remember what it's called. They did the big Birmingham NEC thing. And my friends were all like, oh my God, it's Dave Berry. And they were really excited about it. And I was like, I don't know who this man is. And so I was really rude to him. I was just like, he was like, do you want to be in the picture? And I was like, no, I don't know who you are. and like afterwards, I was like, oh, that was a bit mean.
I know. And also, like, it is a bit weird because, like, the other day, obviously, when I did that theatre thing and I said I queued outside for, like, Graham Norton's autograph, it's okay if you put yourself in a situation where you know who you are. You're the fan, you're queuing for a celebrity, you're polite and respectful. Everyone knows who everyone is because you're the fan at the stage door and they're the celebrity coming out of it. And that is that's a transactional relationship with a famous person that you can deal with. But then just wandering into your regular life, that's mad. And also, I mean, he was quite famous and so no security or anything. But why would you need security except for the fact you've got a rambling madwoman like pretty much talking nonsense at your sister? You know, literally just like a complete
I've never heard this story before.
Have you not?
No.
Oh my God. oh. Literally, can you imagine though? He's in all the like Marvel. Was he in Marvel verse, or is he in
Yeah,
one of those like he's in?
he's
I don't
in
know. Was
X-Men, I think.
yeah. So he's still
Yeah.
really famous, and he's being in a film soon with the woman that played his mother in About a Boy.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
Yes.
so he's that famous.
Yeah, he's
Like
very
literally,
famous. I think maybe they should send a warning before they turn up. Like, just to warn you, I'm bringing my famous brother with me.
yeah, like absolutely. Because I love that film About a Boy, and the kids loved Skins. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
thing where they were all playing like teenagers. It was a sort of like, yeah, it was a bit of a cult classic, wasn't it?
It
Anyway,
was.
so that was like that is definitely, I can still feel the wriggling shame of that appointment now to this very day. And I can only apologise to Nicholas and his sister, who I
If
can't
they're
remember her name.
listening.
Yeah, if they're listening, or indeed if there's anyone that knows anyone famous who could literally give me some guidelines on this. And also now, like any celebrity stylist is going to be like, "No, we can't take a celebrity there because she's a dickhead."
Oh, well, this is quite a good. It's quite a positive bad appointment though. Like it could be worse.
Oh yeah, but no, this like you can have like bad appointments. Like I feel like sometimes I don't so much think that we have bad appointments. I think sometimes you can find yourself in front of a client where you don't click, and it's not very exciting, and then you can find yourself. I would say like the best appointment ever. I find that very very hard to um very hard to quantify actually, because like from a commercial point of view would be the best appointment the one where you like sold the most expensive dress, for example, or where you transform someone's life, or you were able to offer a really amazing service to someone in a challenging time. I think the reason why bridal is kind of addictive is because most appointments are fun. Most appointments are illuminating. They're usually like quite a significant part of people's bridal journey. So I feel like good appointments are what I'm used to. I kind of like it when I suppose I'm really like remember fondly the ones where I blag something. It's like, oh, you say you are the series producer for Love Island. Will you put my daughter's music on it then in exchange for a trade discount? Those ones where, it really helped Georgia's career, or where I'm like, oh, you say you work for Gusbourne Wines. Well, I might like to serve that here. So sometimes when I've actually made some really important sort of like connections for the business or personally, I think that's been quite nice as well to be able to do that and to effectively use a bridal appointment a bit like the man equivalent of being on a golf course and making some deals. So I guess those are, but I would say on the whole, you wouldn't stay doing what I do unless most of the appointments were life affirming, funny. People quite often say to me, oh, you've got so much patience. I'm like, I'm just avoiding doing the admin. I hate admin. I'd much rather, deal with a difficult mum than like sit at my desk and do admin. So yeah, as well noted by both Rosie and Sue, who are desperate for me to do it. So yeah, so I think that's it. That's everything's good.
Okay.
And one truly horrific one, yeah.
Oh. Okay, so what have we got? So you've got a lot of notes that I don't know what they mean. So.
Oh, bless you. I feel like
Japanese food.
Oh yeah, no, basically, this was my notes from last night. So basically, we had 2 more questions come in on Instagram last night. Again, at the witching hour, which you now believe to be the one I am, this is the best time to ask questions because basically people are
it's
like,
for the Sunday night scaries.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I think whilst you're looking for them, I'm going to very quickly mention the reel that we had on Instagram that went a bit crazy on Friday, which was a very short clip of our street art being made, which went really well. So do you want to tell us about that?
I will. Yeah. So basically, we a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, BT and Openreach stuck a giant, hideous green electric box right outside the front of the chapel, which apparently they're allowed to do without any planning permission, without any conversation, without any consideration that it's a conservation area. So they stuck a big ugly green box literally millimeters from our fence of the front of the chapel, and it's been a bloody eyesore ever since. It's really annoying. We have to shoot round it when we do door shots. We have to shoot round it when we're doing content, and then also people let their dogs wee up it, so it's kind of looks wee stained. Oof. And it has bikes lent against it, and it all had a couple of really horrible graffiti tags on it, so that one where people just go around and I suppose it's like their signature or something. So so I was constantly thinking, I know in Brighton they have all of their telephone boxes and electrical things painted by local artists, and I've got a friend that was quite senior in BT, and I was like, can I ask you about the boxes? He's like, don't even start, they'll never move it. It's like, no, I don't want to move it, I want to paint it. So he actually sent me the Open Reach protocol about what street art they think is able to be on their boxes, and this includes things like it can't be religious, divisive, it can't be political, it can't support have a particular sports team involved in it, it can't be obscene, it can't have marketing information on it, you can't obscure any safety markings or anything like that. So basically it's just a basic electrical box. So and so when I moved down to Southsea, obviously I have literally been do you know the word scrape? My kids always use the word scrape about people trying to break into a group of friends. They're like, oh, he's such a scrape.
Oh no, I've never heard that one.
A scrape. So there's a popular crowd or something and someone's trying to get in and they call them a scrape. Oh. So I feel like I've been a bit of a scrape with the art community of Southsea, but I have met quite a lot of them, and through that I met Rue Abrook, who is the coolest woman in the world. I spent 2 hours in the car talking to her on the way up and on the way back from Southsea. So she's got an incredible career that spanned fashion design. She used to have a club label in the 90s, she's a graphic designer, and then she moved into art, and it was the men's street artist in Southsea that encouraged her to take her work outdoors, and she just did a really amazing exhibition called Dressing Up, and she's really interested in the conversation about women and identity and glamour and representation and things like that. And I was like, who better could I have to put a graphic on the on our ugly box. So, and also there's so much fun. It's she was really enjoyed telling her husband she was just up to paint Miss Bush's box as well. So there was a lot of double entendres going on in there as well. So that looks amazing. And one of the questions in the questions from last night is, when are we going to do the Christmas arch? It is done, but I'm not there, so I don't want it photographed until I'm there to pose around in front of it. So it is done, and we will share it really, really soon. So with some proper photographs and another reel probably. So yeah, yes. And it may have had a bit of a leaning towards the pink and yellow of the street art. So yes. And then 2 quick questions from last night.
Yep, I've popped them over to you. So why are you in Barcelona? Is the new Jesus Perro collection launching already?
Well, I am in Barcelona because every December, sometimes into early January, Jesus Perro will be thinking about their preview collection. So this is the 2026 collection. I was saying to a mum the other day, how mad, when I wasn't, when I was young, I'd be like, oh, a bit like the Pulp song, the year 2000. Do you know what I mean? It's well, let's all meet up. And I can't believe it's going to be 2026. We're more than halfway through the 20s and we're I'm it's just mad. So, so basically what happens is Jesus Perro do their sort of preview collection now. And this is based on what's doing well from the 2025 collection, what's selling well, what's evolving, what the trends are globally and regionally. And then basically they then have their main collection launch in April. Because I like to maintain my position as the UK's premier destination for Jesus Perro wedding dresses, I do like to go to Barcelona and see the dresses in person, see what they look like meet the team, meet the designers, give feedback. So yeah, so it's really a preview collection. I think by the looks of things, I'll be buying about 8 or 10 dresses, which will be delivered in store, probably late Jan, early Feb, something like that. So also it will give people that in the sort of late summer and autumn some new dresses for if they're getting married, then some new dresses that they can add to their thoughts. And also anyone that wants to start, when it gets to 2025, it's realistic to expect people that are getting married in 2026 to start looking. So yeah, it just gives us a little chance to kind of help feedback into the collections. I mean, what I've seen is lovely, but of course my first thing was well, where are the dresses for people that need to wear a bra then? So it gives you a chance to input straight to the designers and say, yeah, this is great and I love it, but can I ask that you include some of these further styles into the new bit as well? So it's quite good to be able to, and also it's good to be able to speak to Jesus himself directly, Merche, the head designer, directly, and then just find out globally what's happening with the rest of the region. So yeah, I find it really fascinating. So yes, unbelievable.
Amazing. And you're there by yourself?
Yeah. Well, she's still,
yeah,
he's really ill. Literally, we were flying, I was supposed to be flying on Saturday, and Marshy's just got I don't know if he's got COVID, whether it's just cold or flu, but I've never known him to take to bed for days, and he's just too ill. He was able to walk around for about 5 minutes yesterday. It's gone back to bed. He sounds horrible, just so poorly. So I had to come by myself, which was fine. I got the whole front row of a plane to myself. I bought 4 books at the airport, and I don't. It's odd for me to not talk. So, but Marion's here as my agent, and so we've hung out. We have, and that's what my notes were about. I've been to a really amazing tapas bar that a bride's friend recommended called Calpep. I would really recommend that in the sort of Elborn region of the city, really close to the sort of modern art gallery and the Picasso Museum. That was really good. We had Japanese food for lunchtime. Yesterday did a bit of day drinking. It was good. So I've just wandered around the city. So it is quite, and I've read a load, and yeah, so it is quite nice to be by myself. I'd rather Marshy was here with me, but I'm kind of pleased he didn't give a plane load of people that virus.
Whatever he's got.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, the exciting thing about you being in Barcelona with Marion is that this week there's going to be 2 podcast episodes. Yeah. So we are going to record an interview with Marion. That's going to come out on Wednesday. Yeah. So you have this episode today and then another one in 2 days.
Yes, and this is our we've got a couple of people lined up that want to do interviews. So this is going to be our first chance to see whether we got any skills whatsoever in interviewing, as opposed to just guessing. As we've said right from the get-go, these are the conversations that Leah and I have every week anyway. We've just pressed record on them. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on as an interviewer. Interviewers. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like that's going to be our new experiment this week, is guests.
Yes, exciting. So we haven't decided yet whether I'm actually you're going to actually hear me on it. May just be Emma doing the interviewing and I might be in the background telling her to be quiet.
Something through my headphones, wind it up, Emma. Yes. It's not about you now. It's about someone else. Yeah, absolutely. Have a view in your stories. Yeah.
Okay, right. Is there anything else you'd like to
No,
add?
I feel I think that's quite good. I think that if people want to hear more about the Jesus Pero new collection, then I think we'll cover that with Marion in that interview as well. So.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, as always, any questions you want to ask us for next week, Emma will put it on Instagram on Sunday night.
Any complaints, it's always quite good to go straight to the inbox, hello@missbush.co.uk, or if you would like to be a guest or be interviewed by us, then maybe wait to see what Wednesday's one looks like, and then also drop us either a DM on Instagram or send us an email, hello@missbush.co.uk.
Amazing. Okay, that's 45 minutes, so that's perfect.
Perfect, darling. Okay, well, we'll see you in a moment then when we record number 2 of the day.
Yes. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, see you, bye.
You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know, wouldn't you?